Hi everyone and welcome back to our channel. And today we're going to be looking at containers on AWS. What will be covered on this session? What are containers? Compute options on AWS. What are container orchestrators? How ECS works? How EKS works? And finally, AWS ECR. What are containers? Containers are like tiny boxes we use for packaging our application and everything it needs. These include your dependencies and libraries. This makes our application easier and lightweight to deploy on different platforms like AWS, Google, or Azure. Docker and Containerd can be used for containerizing your application, and Docker is the most popular in the market. Compute offerings on AWS. AWS have two compute options for deploying containers on AWS: the EC2 and Fargate. EC2 is a self-managed compute service on AWS, meaning you have some responsibility in managing the infrastructure yourself. This might include installing the container runtime and deploying your application on it. Fargate is a fully managed compute service on AWS. AWS are responsible for managing everything for you. All you have to do is to deploy your application. This is called serverless compute. Depending on your workload and demand, you can choose between these two options. If you want to handle the installation and management yourself, then EC2 is the best option to run your workload. But if you want to abstract the management of the infrastructure and focus more on development, then Fargate would be the best option for running your workload. What are container orchestrators? When your application grows, the number of containers are going to increase as well. Some microservice applications can range from hundreds to thousands of containers. Managing this yourself might become tasking. Some problems may arise, like how do you know when a container is down? How to schedule another task on the cluster? How do you load balance? How do you autoscale? How to allocate the right resources on your cluster, and so on. Management might become hard and messy. That is why we need a container orchestrator. We all know Kubernetes as the most popular container orchestrator in the market. We also have other tools like Docker Swarm, Nomad, Apache Mesos, and AWS ECS. AWS ECS. ECS means Elastic Container Service. It is AWS' own managed container orchestration service. How does it work? It comes with a control plane with the whole control tools installed and a dashboard. With it, you can control a fleet of instances called the worker nodes. The worker will have the runtime installed alongside the worker processes. The worker node can be your EC2 instance, which you have access to manage the infrastructure yourself, or Fargate, which is serverless managed by AWS. You can have the blend of the both as well. AWS EKS. EKS means Elastic Kubernetes Service. If you love using Kubernetes, EKS is AWS Managed Kubernetes Service for you? How does EKS work? It comes with a control plane with the whole control tools pre-installed, and with it you can create a cluster on AWS, and you can deploy your application using the kubectl. The instance can be your EC2, which is self-managed, or the Fargate, which is serverless. AWS ECR. ECR means Elastic Container Registry. This is AWS managed private container registry, similar to what we have on Docker Hub. You can push images to ECR and pull them into your ECS or EKS cluster seamlessly. One advantage includes seamless integration. Since all are under the AWS ecosystem, it integrates seamlessly with other services like your VPC, the Elastic Load Balancer, the IAM, and so on. Some key takeaways. Containers are like envelopes for packing our application with all it needs to run. These include your dependencies and libraries. EC2 is a self-managed compute instance offered by AWS. Fargate is a serverless compute instance offered by AWS. Container orchestration are used for handling and managing multiple containers like load balancing, scheduling tasks, resource allocation, auto-scaling, and so on. ECS is AWS' own managed container orchestration service. EKS is AWS managed Kubernetes orchestration service. Finally, ECR is AWS managed container registry. Thank you and see you next time.